does one get started on TikTok? The question that everyone's asking, and yet no one truly wants to know the answer of. If you're anything like me, you've been intimidated by TikTok and feel like it's yet another thing to do as a business owner. Well, today we are exploring how to get started in a sustainable fashion so that we can actually play the game. Maybe. So I have this friend, his name's Aaron King, known as Deep Snap on Instagram, and he has been telling me for a while, Amanda, you should do TikTok. Now, I don't typically have people should on me, and you shouldn't either. But don't listen to that shouldn't, because that's also a should. Anyway, we digress. So he hits me up and he's like, hey, I'm gonna go do this shoot with this guy, Josh Terry Plays on TikTok. He's crushing it. We're just gonna have fun out in nature and you should come and tag along and just see how it goes. So I'm taking you guys with me as I do this, and we are going to ask Josh some tips for getting started. He's been doing TikTok for 2 years now. Let's do it.
There's a lot of marketing advice on TikTok on how to approach it in content, but I've noticed a conversation separating a bit where there's the creators and then there's the marketers, and those are two different people. Because the marketer will tell you post 3 times a day, doesn't matter, just put out content, but then the artist is trying to put out something that's art and is guaranteed to burn out if they're trying to do 3 times a day.
Howdy, just wanted to add a quick note here as I'm editing this video. So Aaron is an agency owner as well, where he is still shooting and editing videos for other clients. So for him to say this about marketers versus creatives, he is right there, split between the two worlds saying this. So I just wanted to give that context because I think it is a very interesting perspective that he has that is very, very valid. Back to the video.
And a lot of the things that marketers say that you want to do to get growth, they're not necessarily going to work for you. It really is super dependent on who you are and what you're trying to make.
The overwhelming thing I think about TikTok is people say, find your niche. And that, it's like, what's my niche? And the best way to find your niche is to be yourself, do what you're good at and what comes naturally, and then you will fall into a niche. So if you're a creator, if you have that one thing that you're good at, start just filming that. It's like, hey, I think I like making cooking videos. Well, I eat peanut butter and jellies every day. All right, peanut butter and jelly TikTok. Yeah, I mean, it literally could be that every day. And then now you're experimenting with it. Now you're trying to do, and you can have a whole channel around that one thing you like, your own nuance. And then you expand. The first thing I started putting out was just my road videos, just filming out the window or whatever I'm driving on. And after those got redundant, it's like, let's try something different. And now I have like 3 formats just from experimenting.
All of my past struggles can be pretty much taken back to perfectionism, where I would try to make things that I imagined in my head, and then I'd plan them out, try to create them, and they would fall short. And I thought, man, every time I've tried to make content, like say thought-related content, I'd look at the camera and I'd stutter. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I was like, what if I don't look at the camera? And then I thought about it a little bit more. I started to plan it out, and I was like, oh my God, I try to memorize scripts. My memory is so bad for those types of details. Like, I can't remember dates, I can't remember phone numbers, I can't remember scripts, like terrible. I was like, what if I don't? I was like, okay, well fine, I'll read it off like a zombie. So I read it off like a zombie, and it went viral. It like literally the first video where I took all of the things that I was bad at and I just didn't do it. And then the things that I was good at, I honed in on. I did more of the things that I was good at. And all of us have things that we're good at and things that we think we need to be good at.
Josh has a very unique style that he does in his office, and he always does these side profiles. And so we're doing some side profile, but we're mixing it with some of kind of my style of just outdoor photography. And so we're gonna do a little bit of a static shot here just to throw in his, kind of staple. But then I'm also gonna do some tight shots and then maybe throw in some drone stuff and see if we can't cut it up and just create something different.
As a perfectionist creative, one of the greatest challenges you'll face is to decide that what you've done is enough. You won't be as challenged by skill development as much as the simple act of choosing a skill, because you won't be able to create at the level you dream of until you decide that a simple idea you've been playing with will be satisfying and meaningful enough to spend time with. And this can't be an act of scarcity, where you resent your art and the world for limiting you to a box that's too small, because that resentment will be visible in what you create, and it will wear you down until you decide that the world is better off without your talents. It has to be an act of abundance, where you decide that you have so much to do within your small area of expertise that you could create twice as many things as you do every day and never run out of beauty to add to the world. You're on the road to mastery when you feel a sense of sadness from time to time for all of the other opportunities you let pass. But the excitement for your next creation is worth the sacrifice of all the other projects that could have been.
There's a place for substance on these platforms, and I think that everyone thinks you have to shake your ass to be on these platforms, and you don't. But if you can be just unapologetically yourself on a platform, and that worked for this one client I have. They're a feed company, and we just have cowboys. They're 95-year-old cowboys just telling stories, and I was thinking, this is a young platform. I don't know if this is gonna resonate, but let's just run with it, because that's who they are. And the first few videos went viral, and we have no followers, and it's getting 100,000 views in the first day because people are sharing it, and there's a place for substance. I don't know how many millions the data actually is of how many millennials and boomers downloaded TikTok during the pandemic. They're not creating, but they're consuming. And so the audience is there, and they've already passed YouTube in viewership. So it's a no-brainer for businesses because it's where it's headed. You can reach more people than you will starting from scratch on other platforms. And I just think it's the way to communicate. It's learning a new language, and it's gonna be valuable for the next platform.
So after spending the day with Aaron and Josh, I now have a couple of thoughts about how I personally am going to be approaching TikTok. And I wanted to round out this video by giving you my thoughts on that and help you think through how to approach it for yourself. So the first thing I want to cover is, where are you in your business journey? Are you at the point where you have something that works and it's just a matter of increasing traffic to that offer? Maybe it's a service that you provide, or you have an online course funnel that is operating and working for you, and it's a scalable offer that you can run as much traffic to it as possible. If you are at that point, then it makes sense to spend your time in TikTok. And that's because you can experiment, you can do these things that Josh and Aaron are talking about with having fun on the platform and testing different ways to increase awareness around who you are and around the services that you provide. I think it's an amazing platform in terms of getting started early on it. It is still early in the days of TikTok compared to, let's say, Instagram, that is pretty much dead these days if you are just getting started. It's very challenging to get started. So from that lens, if you are at that stage, diving into TikTok makes sense. So that brings me to where I am at in my business and how I am thinking about TikTok. So personally, I am focused on increasing the conversions of my main sales funnel that is getting people from joining my email list to joining my online course. That is an initiative that is taking 100% of my focus at this moment in time. And then in addition, I'm making these YouTube videos for you guys and doing some other things like that. And so TikTok is not a priority at this moment. However, I do see myself experimenting with it in the future once I have this conversion machine that is built, and it is just a matter of increasing awareness around who I am and the products and services that I provide, as well as venturing into potential new markets that I haven't yet considered. Because when Josh and Aaron are talking about experimentation and just doing what you love, that is a great way to discover new markets where there is an opportunity to sell products and services that you might not have considered. So how are you now thinking about TikTok? Go ahead and drop your comments below, and I would love to have a dialogue with you over this. And if this video is helpful, please be sure to click like. And if you'd like to dive into some of my other content, then I will link to several helpful videos on the screen here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.